All praises to Enoch, said, who is loving kindness to us, our Heavenly Father. His elect of Israel, his little descendants, Sion. I come to you in the name of the truth. His name is Yahweh, who is called the Word of God, who so happen to be the spirit of prophecy. Once again, I'm prophesying for his precepts with Luke 10 and 19 amplified power. Luke 10, 19 and 20 amplified power. Luke 10 and 19 and 20, the message power. The message for the day is, I was watching live now on 9/2/2025. It says full Trump on Space Command, crime, National Guard troops, housing, etc. And Trump spoke and he said, there's peace and safety in DC. He also said they solidified a union with the European nations. This is Bible prophecy, fulfilled and being fulfilled right before your eyes. First Thessalonians 5 and 3, King James Version. When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction going on them. As revealed on a woman with child, and they shall not escape. First Thessalonians 5, 1-3, the Voice Version. Many people fear death. Perhaps it's the idea of the unknown that stirs the imagination. Death is the great enemy that stands before believers. But through Yahweh's own death and resurrection, the power of death is broken over the Israelites that believe in it. Paul uses the gentle image of the faithful being asleep as a new perspective of the finality of death. One minute you close your eyes to this world, next you're celebrating with Yahweh and experiencing the resurrection of the body. You can tell you that in the book of ancient grandmother, because there's no such thing as death. That's something that Satan over your head to keep you in fear. Only ones can fear is the one who don't believe in Yahweh. Because they open their eyes up in hell forever. And hell is worse than what they told you in the fairy tales. This hell is real. Paul used the gentle image of the faithful being asleep as a new perspective of the finality of death. The elected obtained it, the rest was blinded. The walking dead, breathing breath until they stop breathing. Paul used the gentle image of the faithful being asleep as a new perspective of the finality of death. One minute you close your eyes to this world, the next you are celebrating with Yahweh, experiencing the resurrection of the body. Those things will not even miss a moment. It will happen in a blink of an eye. Now, brothers and sisters, you don't need further instruction from us or anyone else for that matter, regarding how the session and time will play out. Well, you're allowed to see it at any measure. It's playing out right before your eyes. Line by line, precept by precept, just like that. As Trump said, he made a union with the European nations. He said there was peace and safety in D.C. And then they showed a little small town or territory called D.C. But if you have no knowledge, you think that's what he's talking about. No, he said D.C. is all of the world of people is their covenant of death. National world citizenship was what they covered. That's called citizens of the United States, United States citizen. Slaves. That's because you know the truth well enough. Day of Yahweh will race into the scene and surprise us like a thief in the night. Nah, surprise the weak. People will be going about their business chanting. All is well. All is at peace. The next moment, ruin and destruction will suddenly seize them as labor pains grip a woman about to give birth. For them, there will be no escape. You just saw the people that Trump was talking to, all behind their head with their arrogant plump faces, confident, false confidence. Even talking about a space force. What is a space force? Is somebody come out of space that you know is coming? With chariots. Ecclesiastes 43:7. For the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreeth in her perfection. In context, verse 4 through 10. A man blowing a furnace in his work of heat, but the sun burned the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors, sending forth bright beams. It dimmeth the eyes. Great is Yahweh that made it. And his commandment runneth hastily. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times, the sign of the world. For the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreases in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderful in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining the firmament of heaven. The beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, an ornament giving light in the highest places of Yahweh. At the commandment of the Holy One, they stand in the order, never faint in their watches. Ecclesiastes 43:8. The month is called their name, increasing wonderfully and are changing, being an instrument of the armies of above, shining the firmament of heaven. He spoke about a space force. Could it be they're anticipating the armies coming through portals in chariots? Revelation 16, 18 to 20, the Geneva Bible. And there were voices. Footnote, this declared the execution as it said in verse 27. The things that shall last come to pass in heaven and earth for the overthrow of the beast of Babylon. Both generally, verse 18. Revelation 16 and 18, Geneva Bible. And there was a voice and thunderings and lightnings. There's a great earthquake. Such was not since men were upon the earth. It's a mighty earthquake. That's not a little earthquake. But this truth has caused the earth to quake. It divided that great city into 3 parts. Prepare for judgment. And Revelation 16 and 19, and footnote that seat or standing place of Antichrist, that great city was divided into 3 parts. So you know where the Antichrist dwells. In that 3 parts. And the Antichrist, the seat of the beast, United States Corporation, to the London Corporation, DC, Westminster, the Vatican, etc. And that great city was divided into 3 parts. And the cities of nations. Footnote, of all such as cleave unto the Antichrist and fight against the Messiah. Could it be that they're anticipating the Messiah to come through the portal from space, outer space? Therefore, we have a space force. And the cities of the nations fell. What cities of the nations fell? Footnote, of all such as cleave to Antichrist and fight against the Messiah, they fell. And the great Babylon, footnote, that harlot, of whom the chapter next following. Now this phrase, to come into the remembrance, is after the common use of the Hebrew speech, but borrowed from men attributed unto God. That great Babylon came to remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Every isle fled away. And the mountains were, footnote, that is, were seen no more. They ain't got no power. Or no more extent. A borrowed Hebraism were not found. Footnote, appeared not which the Hebrews uttered after this sort were not. Genesis 5:24. Neva Bible. And Enoch walked with God, and he was no more seen. For God took him away. Footnote to show that there were a better life prepared, to be a testimony of the immortality of the souls and bodies. For the body and spirit is the soul. That's to inquire where he became is mere curiosity. No. Truth is, I show you a mystery. We should all sleep. We should be changed in a moment or two of God. Isaiah 34:3-5, Geneva Bible. And their slain shall be cast out. Their stink shall come upon out of their bodies. The mountains shall be melted with their blood, to be found no more. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. Footnote, he speaketh this in respect to a man's judgment, who is in great fear and horrible troubles, thinking that heaven and earth perish. And the heavens shall be folded like a brook. All the hosts shall fall as the leaf falleth from the vine, as it falleth from the fig tree. My sword be drunken in heaven. Footnote, I've determined in my secret counsel, in the heavens to destroy them, to my sword be weary of shedding blood. Behold, it shall come down on Edom, even over the people of my curse to judgment. Footnote, they had the opinion of holiness, because they came to the patriarch Isaac, because Isaac was also Esau's father. But in effect were cursed of God, and enemies to his church, my winged Zion, little descendants, as the Papists are. So you gotta remember, first let me read it to you again. So you gotta go to the most honorable origin, where it all began, right in America, Turtle Island, the Garden of Eden. After that, that's when the Papists came and tried to change God's order into their new world order. This already fell miserable. Seth, who remembers of Enoch, the same book of Haggai. Seth chapter 5, 68-73. This day I'm come to talk together with you, so that you become this day of one flesh. Work all your days hand in hand together. She'll see everything together. She'll know everything together. She'll feel everything together. She'll taste everything together. Oh, taste and see. Psalm 34:8. Oh, taste and see that Yahweh is good. Blessed is the man that trusts in him. Psalm 34:8, the voice version. Taste of his goodness. See how wonderful the eternal truly is. Anyone who puts trust in him will be blessed and comforted. Children of Israel that believes in him. Even Amos 9:10-12 says, those others called by his name, the remnant of Edom that's going to be around the other nations, which get everything back. You're going to slavery. At least you're not going to die. That's how you trust and get everything back. The law has come out of Zion right now. With interest. Step 5 and 69 on down. Looking toward Yazakad, he said, Adam. You should now change your domain over the earth. You see, the Israelites in Zion reigning now. Now is your task to dress and keep all the hosts of the living souls here. And your world named Eden, America, Turtle Island, Eden. We was here first. And now this day, all the elements of creation know what they are. They know their purpose. They also know the meaning of life they have been given in their newness. They all love one another. They all embrace the definition that they have been given in their creation. And know, my children, that you are called to dress and keep Eden. It may always be that the order of life that here will remain the same. For all living souls can choose themselves where they would go. The wicked, the deck of dots I chose where they're going to go. That's the Papists, the enemy of God. They chose to hate us on purpose. Ezekiel 35, and they must be murdered. That's what God said. Because when you take a man, mean a race of people, put them in chattel slavery, kidnapping, and try to feel like you had nothing to do with it. Now you make yourself naked. You were the captor. You were our slavers, our ancestors. It is very there. Especially one that had lack of knowledge. And now people are found in your hand. (21:16) King James Version. He that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, shall be surely put to death. That's the law of the gospel. That's the law and the law of the gospel. That's why I said in Ezekiel chapter 35, Edom, you must be murdered. That's called justice. That's righteousness. Exodus 21:16, the voice version. Anyone who kidnaps another, whether he has already sold his victim or still has him when he is caught, must be put to death. Well, you kidnapped me in 2017 from my dwelling and took my arms and everything that was mine right by right hand and my ammunition. You took a lot of stuff from me right on record. Everybody saw it. You boasted in it on record. Exodus 21:16. The voice, anyone who kidnaps another, whether he's already sold his victim or still has him when he is caught, must be put to death. That's the law. He said, any violation of law is sin. So if anybody don't put these people to death, you in sin, because you broke the law of the gospel. First John 3 and 4, King James Version. Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law. The law says you must be put to death. Every day I go out to bother international worker, because I preach the gospel of truth and teach it so thoroughly I cannot be confounded with the precepts. Even by the City of London Corporation private attorneys' confessions on the record. First John 3 and 4, the voice version. Anyone who lives a life of habitual sin is living in a moral anarchy. That's what sin is. Aboriginal. See, origin. First, original primitive Aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country. Aboriginal tribes of America. Aboriginal, adjective, and original. A primitive inhabitant, the first settlers in the country, are called Aboriginal. As the Celts in Europe, the Indians in America. These are Negroes, bywords, but Israelites. And I'm an American Israelite, pronounced Joseph, tribe of Ephraim, royal house of King David restored, based on the truth of the word of God. Origin history of tribe. See, they say a lot of different tribes, right? They made up. But origin history of tribe is a noun. Origin, your most honorable origin. Origin history of tribe is a noun. Middle of 13th century, one of the 12 divisions of ancient Hebrew. In reference to the 12 tribes of Israel, the oldest sense in English, so even by the English language, they told you stuff like these other tribes that they try to federalize, but in the oldest sense of English, the 12 tribes of Israel. And almost the only one in Middle English. Latin word is specialized in church sense, translating Greek, P-H-Y-L-E, race or tribe of men, body of men united by ties of blood and descent, a clan. Revelation 16 and 19. As a result, the great city of Babylon broke into 3 parts when the ground shook. Also destroyed the big cities of other nations in the world. God did not forget the evil things that the people of great city Babylon had done, so that to drink the wine from the cup of God's great anger. Jeremiah 49, 7-39, the Voice version. Like the relationship between Esau and Isaac. The twin ancestors were from Edom and Israel descent. Relations are often stormy between these two people. It's no secret that the Edomites hate the Israelites. And often rejoice in their troubles. But it's pride that ultimately is Edom's undoing. But they cannot imagine any enemy penetrating their mountain fortresses. They too are part of the Council of Nations, United Nations. They consider standing against Babylon, Jeremiah 27. As always, Jeremiah instructs that such resistance is an affront to God of Israel, who uses Babylon to accomplish his purpose in history. Verse 7 on down. Jeremiah 49, 7-39, verse 7 on down. Now here's the oracle concerning Edom, the descendants of Esau, spoken by the Eternal, commander of heavenly armies, Eternal. What happened to the wise men of Teman? Has their insight failed them? Has their wisdom merely vanished into thin air? You live in Dedan, Ardennes, like Dedan, running high deep in the caves. If I bring disaster, I'll bring a disaster on Esau's descendants. When I come to punish him. When workers harvest the grapes, do not leave some of the vine for those who are poor. Even when thieves enter your home in the middle of the night, do not destroy and steal only what they need. I'll treat Esau's descendants differently. I'll strip them bare, exposing their secret places. The house comes as a thief in the night. He's here. The truth is called a witch. Exposing their secret places. No place to hide. Their children, their families, even the neighbors will die. That's why they're not our neighbors. And this nature will be no more. Leave your orphans to me. I'll protect them. Leave your widows as well, for they can trust me. That is what I, the Eternal, have to say. If the innocent must drink of this cup of wrath, why do you think you should escape punishment? You will not escape. You'll surely drink from this cup. I swear by my own name, the Eternal, that Basra, Edom's capital, will become a wasteland. What's the capital of Edom or Washington? D.C. That Basra, Edom's capital, will become a wasteland, object of horror, of scorn, and cursing. Edom's town will forever lie in ruins. I've heard a message from the Eternal. An envoy was sent to the nations to say, assemble your troops to attack Edom. Rise up and prepare for battle. Eternal. To Edom, look, I will humiliate you among the nations, make you small and insignificant, despised by all. The terror you aspire in others and your ingrained arrogance have deceived you. You think you are safe in your mountain hideaway. You said, you told your citizens, Trump told his citizens, there's peace and safety in Washington, D.C. You hold the high ground above your enemies. You may build your fortress as high as an eagle's nest, but I can still bring you down from there. Edom will be an object of horror. All who pass by and see what I have done will shudder and gasp at all of his wounds. This is Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their neighbors were destroyed, never to rise again. And then Trump also said one of the reasons he's cleaning up D.C. is because the Olympics are coming in Los Angeles. You know the altitude, the capital of Washington is Olympia. Location situated at the southern tip of Puget Sound, Olympia offers scenic view of the Olympic Mountain. It's a gateway to Olympic National Park. Now you know why the London Corporation Proprietary told you that they worship Zeus, who you call Jesus, whose name in English should be Joshua, whose name in heaven is Yahweh. Two different people, two different gods. Government. The city has been the capital since 1853. When it was designated the capital of Washington Territory. It is home to the Washington State Capitol building. Economy. Beyond state government employment, the city's economy is influenced by its natural resources. It also includes a seaport, retail, healthcare, and tourism sectors. Culture. Olympia has developed a reputation as a culture of hub and center for environmental studies with a lively downtown art scene. Weather. The climate is temperate with rainy winters and mild summers, castrating with the warm, dry weather experienced in some months. Wikipedia, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. officially the District of Columbia, commonly known as simply Washington or D.C., is the capital city and federal district. But it's not a city nor no state. It's made up. It only has 68.4 miles territory that actually what they call the city or that territory. But through deception, fraud, they extended to all these citizens. That's who encompasses Washington, D.C. around the world. And the United States is not America. Why? Because they get everybody from around the world to come to America, but they think they are coming to America, that they coming to D.C. to be called slaves. By their own confession. That's why they have you to sign up to become a United States citizen. Jeremiah 49:17 on down. The voice version. Edom will become an object of horror. Well, it's looking a little horrific now, isn't it? All who pass by and see what I've done will shudder and gasp at all his wounds. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and all of their neighbors were destroyed, never to rise again. I, the Eternal One, declare that no one will live there. No one will dare make Edom their home. D.C. Like a lion that suddenly emerges from the dense undergrowth beside the Jordan to attack a flock feeding in the lush pasture. So in an instant I will arrive and chase the people of Edom from their land. Then I'll put in place a leader of my choosing, who is like me. Who can challenge me? What shepherd can stand against me? That's why you must hear the plan that the Eternal has for Edom. What he intends to do to those who live in the city of Team. Eternal. The little ones will be dragged away from the flock. All will scatter when their pasture is left desolate. The sounds of Edom fall will cause the earth to shake. See that? That's that sound of Edom's fall through the proclamation of the gospel and their own confessions. Caused the earth to shake. It was broken into 3 parts. The angel's cry will echo to the Red Sea, from the Hebrew Sea of Reeds. Look, an eagle is rising. Spread his wings. Soon it will swoop down and attack Basra. On that day, the hearts of Edom warriors be like the heart of a woman in labor, helpless and vulnerable. Damascus has long been at odds with Israel and Judah. She controls caravan routes in the region. She must submit to the sovereign power of the Eternal. Well, that's me. You don't like to hear it. To the majestic priesthood. Luke 10:19 Amplified Power, 1920 Amplified Power. Look what I'll give you. Free. The power is power. Priesthood power. Luke 10:19-20 Amplified Bible. Listen carefully. I give you authority, power, that you now possess. Tread on serpents and scorpions. Perhaps a reference to demonic power of spirits when you see you can't see. And the ability to exercise that power, authority, over all the power of the enemy, Satan. Nothing will in any way harm you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice at this, that the spirits are subject to you. Rejoice that your names are recorded in heaven. Origin history of record is a verb, action word. 1200, reporting, to repeat, reiterate, recite, rehearse, get by heart. I'll put my law in your inner course in your heart. Tell, relate, repeat, recite, report, make known. Remember, call to mind. Think over, be mindful of. With a sense of restore, heart, from heart. The meaning set down in writing. Reserve the memory of by written or other characters. Write down for the purpose of preserving evidence of. Is by middle 14th century, the sense of put sound, later pictures, etc. on disc, cylinders, tape, etc. over the internet, public proclamation, through my videos as well, and my reels. And the Word of God is the authority, the scriptures, the precepts I'm reading from. On this, cylinders, tapes, etc. 1892, related to recorded. Recorded is a noun. Century 300, testimony committed to writing, fact, or condition of having been recorded. Record, memory, statement, report, to record. See record. The meaning of written account of some fact. Event or proceeding for the purpose of preserving the memory of. From late 14th century, the issue of official document of a government department or municipal office. Municipal, he said, that's them, Trump and them, but it's still on record. Even our leaders. In my name, Anthony Measures Pooler, I'm the senior. Also known as Niggas Joseph. To keep many in Israel alive who listen to these precepts. Just not a hearer of the word, but a doer of the law, of the gospel. Hence the meaning, fact, or condition of being preserved as knowledge. My people destroyed for lack of this knowledge, but now you got it. Now he had no excuse. especially by being put into writing. Late 14th century, to mean disc on which sounds or images have been recorded. On all my videos as well. Text from 1878, originally also the Edison wax cylinders, later extended somewhat to other form of sound storage. Record player. Text from 1919, record album. Audio recording issued as a collection. 1936, earlier was the album in which stored Edison cylinders. Now we got the internet. The meaning best or highest official achievement in a sport. Journalist phrase on record, for the record, having the facts known. In 1930, in the congressional testimony, to keep or set the record straight. Legal phrase matter of record was the Middle East, and matter has been formally recorded or documented and legal issue. They can resolve by existing records. Pre-record. Recordation. Faculty remembering. It's on file as well. For present and future reference. Recorder. Chief legal officer of a city. Who do this? The register writings or transactions. And that's it, not the inflated. Register, public record book, private account book, official written account, record accounts. Write, to score, outline, draw the figure, or later set down in writing. Written. Jeremiah 49, 23 on down. Here now is an oracle concerning Damascus. Eternal. The towns of Hamath and Arpad are put to shame. But they have heard bad news. Doom is coming. They are distressed, troubled, and unsettled like the swirling sea. Damascus is weak and helpless. She has turned and run away. Panic grips her heart. Torment and pain has grabbed her like a woman giving birth. Citizens of Damascus, why this glorious city, this city that gives us so much joy, now already deserted? Eternally. Her young men will fall in the streets. The words will fall silent on that day. So says the Eternal, Commander of Heavenly Armies. Eternal. I'll set fire to the walls of Damascus. A fire that will spread and burn up the palace of Ben-Hadad. Here's an oracle from Eternal concerning Kedar and nomadic tribes of Arabia, known as the kingdoms of Hazor, all defeated by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Eternal, rise up and attack Kedar. Destroy the tribes of the east. They'll take away their tents and their flocks, their curtains, their camels, and all their possessions. They will shout to one another. Terror is everywhere return. Run away quickly while there is time. Hide deep in the earth, people of Hazar. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has schemed against you. He has a plan for your defeat. So I tell you to rise up and attack this complacent nation, which assumes it's secure. Nation without walls or gates that lives alone in the desert. Their camels and livestock will be the spoils of war. I'll scatter to the wind these people who cut the corners of their hair, surround them with disasters on every side. So I, the Eternal, declare, Hazor become a haunt for jackals, a place of desolation for all time, so that no one will live there ever again. No one will make it its home. Here's an oracle concerning Elam. The word of Eternal came to the prophet Jeremiah early in the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah. This is what the Eternal commander of heavenly armies has to say. Eternal. I'll break the bows of Elam's archers, the very best of their military might. I'll bring the four winds from the four corners of heaven to blow against Elam. I'll scatter them to the four winds. And there'll be a nation where her exiles will not go. And there will not be a nation where her exiles will not go. I'll shatter Elam right in front of her enemies. For those who want her dead, I'll bring disasters on these people. My violent anger burns against them. I'll pursue them in war until they are no more. I'll destroy a wicked king and officials, said the king I want on the throne over Elam. Even so, the latter times the day will come when I will restore the fortress of Elam. So says the Eternal. Remember we said the Elam of the heights that's assisting Micah. Known as the trees. Exodus 21:16, the voice version. Anyone who kidnaps another, whether he has already sold his victim or still has him when he is caught, must be put to death. For John 3:4, the voice version. Anyone who lives life of habitual sin is living in moral anarchy. That's what sin is. Back to step 5 and 6 down. And looking toward Yazakad, he said, that's Adam. Or the children of Israel, the American Israelites, even to this day. The Melchizedek priesthood. You should now change your dominion over the earth. For now it is your task to dress and keep all the hosts of the living souls here. Your world is named Eden. And now this day, all the elements of creation know what they are. They know their purpose. They all also know the meaning of life they have been given in their newness. They all love one another. They all embrace the definition that they've been given in their creation. And know, my children, that you're called to dress and keep eating. I had a thought too. See, y'all playing around. Figures are wicked. It's one thing to see chariots coming out of the sky on Star Wars and stuff like that in the movie. When you see it in reality, though, you better stop playing games. Because at that time, there's no time to play. Trump said they created a space force in Alabama. Where they, I guess, going to be one of their headquarters. Why you get space force though? You anticipating war out of space? It's getting real, people. Better stop playing. Step 5 and 71 on down. And know, my children, that you're called to dress and keep eating. It may always be that the order of life here remain the same. For all living souls can choose for themselves which way they'll go. That's called agency. And our creation is made out of my love for you and none else. I'm God of Israel and none else. For you alone are created in my image, both your body and your spirit. Therefore, the duty of all the souls, see the body, spirit, the soul, in creation, to diligently follow after the definition of every form they have taken because of you. The duty of them all to walk in harmony and oneness before you and their creation. And our creation has a new task this day. And their task from this the day of your espousal is to work together with you, with the two of you, disobey the desires of your heart. They are to share with you all the joys of their happiness. They are to speak and sing of their joys in you before all their fellows. And leading towards Kali, he said. He didn't talk to Kali yet. On the thumbnail, he mentioned rapture. And based on what's going on right now, you can see some people are being caught up in the rapture. Or history of raptures are now. Century act of carrying off as prey, P-R-E-Y, or plunder. Rose from French rapture, seizure, rape, kidnapping. That's what they did to our people. Now they're doing it to your people. That's called justice. A carrying off, abduction, snatching away, rape. See raps? Rape. The word is close relation to this. Now, the first part was the bad rapture. That's what the Christian church talk about, even though they don't really talk about that. They're going to be snatched away, but now they want to be snatched away. And many of us going right now. They've been snatched away. They get caught up in the rapture. But not the rapture of love, like Anita Baker said. See on portion 1134 on down. Well, I'm talking about the Israelites, though. You command them not to speak evil of their brothers and sisters, who are their neighbors, who've been anointed as kings and queens, priests and priestesses of the Most High God. For they judge their neighbor wrongly, and never become exalted in the kingdom of the Father. And they did not receive this exaltation or this rapture of this kind, the sense of spiritual ecstasy, state of mental transport or exaltation, quoted by 1600s raptures, connecting notion of sudden and violent taking and carrying away. That's the first part of the wicked. But for us, the exaltation. Of the kingdom of God. The meaning expressing exalted or passionate feelings. Rapture is also a verb. To enrapture, put in a state of rapture. Rapture. See, there are two types of raptures. Rape is a verb. Lake 46, raping, seize, prey, abduct, take, or carry off by force. That's what's happening now. They said ICE. Rape is a noun. Seize, abduct, a legal term. Seize, carry off by force, abduct. See, rap. Seize and plunder. Most High said, I'm going to do double you, do what you did to mom. But back to the children of God. For they judge their neighbor wrongly, they will become exalted, raptured in the kingdom of the Father in the good way. They did not receive this exaltation. How great were their disappointment, their torment, forever in the presence of those they are wrongfully judged. You should charge them not to take the name of God in vain. You might end up in the wrong version of the rapture. He will not be held guiltless who take the name of God in vain. In other words, if a man accepts the message of the gospel and take with him the name of God, and he making a covenant with him to obey his commandments. If this man does not obey the commandments of God after he has made a covenant to do so, this man, maybe man or woman, has taken the name of God in vain, will not be held guiltless for not keeping these commandments. You might get caught in the rapture of rape, not ecstasy. Take it. And all these things should teach your posterity. They should be taught the commandments of God by the mouth of his holy prophets. These prophets shall teach the leaders of the churches that I shall allow to be built up among the children of men. Bear with me. I just want to hear it now. So I was talking about. You want to get caught in the rapture of love. Matthew 24:40-42, King James Version. Then shall two be in the field, one shall be taken, the other left. Two women grinding in the mill, one shall be taken, the other left. Two women, one is the abominable church, going to be taken as the Babylon, and the bride of the Messiah left, calling an ecstasy of exaltation, the rapture of love. Watch therefore that you know what hour Yahweh does come. Watch therefore you know not what hour Yahweh does come. He's already here in his priesthood. But Trump said they have a space force awaiting Yahweh to come. He didn't put it that way. But why do you have a space force? Matthew 24:40-42, the voice verse. Two men will be plowing in the field. One will be taken. The other will be left in the field. Two will be somewhere grinding at a mill. One will be taken, the other will be left at the mill. So keep watch. You know when your kin redeemer will come. First Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall sow peace and safety, then sudden destruction come upon them. As a veil upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. 1 Thessalonians 5:1-3, the voice version. Many people fear death. Perhaps the idea of the unknown that stirs up the imagination. Death is the great enemy that stands before believers. But through Yahweh's own death and resurrection, the power of death is broken. Paul used the gentle image of the faithful being asleep as a new perspective of the finality of death. 1 minute you close your eyes to this world, next you're celebrating with Yahweh in the rapture of love. Exaltation. The experience of resurrection of the body, the spirit, the resurrected body, and it's called the soul. Those sleep would not even miss a moment. For we can all sleep. I'll show you a mystery. We should be changed in the moment between the body. It happened in the blink of an eye. And that's particularly to the Ephraim, my firstborn. Ephraim, Judah. 144,000 high priests. And the elect who repent. 1 Corinthians 15:51-52. Behold, I show you a mystery. Based on the atoning blood of Yahweh, we shall all sleep. We shall all be changed in a moment. The twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, the dead shall be raised incorruptible. We shall be changed. First Corinthians 15:51-52, the voice version. Stay close because I'm going to tell you a mystery. Some of you may have trouble understanding. We will not all fall asleep in death. But we will be all transformed. Will all happen so fast in a blink, a mere flutter of the eye. The last trumpet will call. The dead will be raised from their graves with a body that cannot decay. All of us will be changed. Who is all of us? As many believe in Yahweh in Israel. That's the joy of being in Him. He was resurrected and death couldn't hold Him. And if you're in Him, in His Word, by His Spirit, in the new covenant of Shavuot, then you can't hold you. That's your agenda for rejoicing. See that I've done for you? Yahweh said. Who is Yahweh? The Word. Who's also the Spirit of prophecy. The same word through the precept I prophesied by. Jehovah. The Word. That made me have another fair use moment. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Okay. Want to seal portion. Before I go there, though, I'm gonna read a little bit of confessions from the Roman Catholic Pope, City London Corporation's proud attorney. Remember, Most High allowed me to set the foundation that the children of Israel is already here in the Garden of Eden. These people came and usurped it. But now it's our duty to make sure the truth is known again, ruling in righteousness. That's my duty. That's why I'm done it and doing it and teaching you how to do it through His Word. It's their confession, though. Internal public notice. It's notice on the record. I'm committed to the truth according to the precepts of God, the Word. International public notice regarding the final stand down. Landed by Ritz, the City of London Corporation proud attorney. Even though the 18-page document purporting to be a final stand-down order signed by 2 military officers. So where that come from? DC. That 3 city divided into 3 parts. DC military. Excuse me. Plain says that reproducing it or otherwise sharing it via social media is a crime and be considered treason. It's none of that's being widely circulated. The information contained in this document is usually a mixture of factuality, factually correct and incorrect government-sponsored material that ultimately results in confusion and disinformation. There's a consistent failure to fully disclose. What has happened is that a District of Columbia Municipal Corporation that was authorized by the district government in 1871 has been subject to Chapter 7 involuntary bankruptcy and dissolved. This process has been ongoing for 10 years. It's a corporation, not a government. As a result, approximately 2/3 of what has been operating as the federal government has to be shut down and are placed under new management, integrated by the remaining federal subcontractor. Of course, this necessitates stopping the activities of all the former municipal corporation franchises, including the departments and franchises. While this downsizing and reorganization takes place, the cover story for this is apparently the Evil Act of 1871, a bogey man that has haunted the patriot movement in this country for many years. However, the Act of 1871 was repealed in 1874. Natural damage was done by the Organic Acts, motivated by what appeared to be the plenary government of Washington, D.C. that same year. The creation not only of a second District of Columbia Corporation, the British Crown Corporation established in 1790, and a new municipal government corporation establishing a separate, independent international city-state government in the District of Columbia in 1871. Together with certain other acts of obfuscation, resulted ultimately in two foreign incorporated district-based federal subcontractors operating out of the District of Columbia, the District of Satan. This is how we, the Americans, the Israelites, got stuck for paying for two complete federal government operations, mirroring each other, duplicating operations all across the board. For example, a British Territorial Department of Defense, mirrored by a Holy Roman Empire Municipal Corporation of DOD, Inc. A British Territorial Department of Labor, mirrored by a Holy Roman Empire Municipal Corporation doing business as a DOL, Inc., and so on. This situation also resulted in a competition. That's why I said the enemies of God's church and God's people as the Pap Israel. That's who they are. This situation resulted in a competition between the two incorporated service providers at various junctions in their history. But the measures of the Great Depression forced them to collude, beginning in 1937 and beginning relatively cordial joint service operations, C, the Declaration of Independence of the governments of the United States. From then on, until 2010, when things began to fall apart for both the foreign parent corporations known as the United States and municipal corporation under various iterations. The United States of America Incorporated, the British Territorial Corporation under various iterations, respectively. To Mr. Trump's administration, which is now operating as a London-based LLC, is trying to explain away the disappearance of the roughly 2/3 of the federal government as a combination of cost cutting by Dodge and other austerity measures by his administration to save the public purse. Whether they can con the gullible public into believing this or not is another matter. The facts remain. The survivors, the remaining officers of the British Territorial USA Corporation, have also been indulgent in the game of the pot calling the kettle black and pretending that the incorporation of the municipal service provider was the problem, while bypassing the fact that all the operations are incorporated too. In terms of their service contracts, the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the United States, it does not matter how these foreign and federal subcontinents are organized. There is nothing whatsoever in any peace treaty or constitution preventing them from being incorporated. So that entire debate is a red herring issue. The municipal corporations could be incorporated so long as it remains sovereign. And that lack of sovereignty on part of the municipal subcontractor is what has caused all the rest of this. The document in question also claims that the British Crown no longer exists. It would be more correct to say that some franchise of the British Crown have perished. In the aftermath, reorganization of their operations is also underway, e.g. Mr. Trump spinning off a London-based LLC calling itself the United States of America LLC, or the sudden existence of a State of Israel Inc., with an agency addressing the Kensington Palace. The larger false claim in commerce, an outrageous treasonous fraud against the people of this country, the children of Israel, which occurred in the territorial U.S. Congress on February 2nd, 1871. The writers of the final stand-down order stubbornly refused to mention, apart from an online reference to changing the word for to of. In this undisclosed illusion of the illegal and immoral latching unto the assets of the American Federal Republic by the British territorial government. We're talking the children of Israel stuff, things. Or is it a theatrical, the old God run world government, not wickedness. The members of this renegade Congress name themselves the owners of and beneficiaries of assets of the abandoned American federal subcontractor. This has already been settled, this they confess, in favor of the children of Israel. Known properly as the Federal Republic, they've been doing business under the Constitution of the United States of America, 1787 to 1861, and all corporations thereof, without, however, disclosing the circumstances, honoring the obvious property interests of the states and the people, their own employers, the children of Israel, the American Israelites, and the Israelites throughout the world, throughout the diaspora. They took over the assets of the American Federal Republic and appropriated its service contract, the Constitution of the United States of America, under conditions of fraud and self-interest, while continuing to operate under their own service contract, the Constitution of the United States of Europeans. That's what that is. Which is a sealed portion, chapter 31 says about this. Sealed portion 31 and 5. And this shall be the final opportunity of Satan to show unto the children of God that his plan can bring happiness and joy to those who follow him and give him glory that he seeks. And his great nation be known as the United States. For they should be united in their desire to worship Satan in his image. This is because of their works. Conditions of fraud and self-interest while continuing to operate under their own service contract, the Constitution of the United States. Thus, it was a matter of changing the word from for to of, as the writer of the final stand-down papers described it. It was an illegal and immoral latching onto property, assets, and contracts owed to their employers, the children of Israel. Israelites, not Israelis. She just told you Israeli Inc., Israel Inc., that's the Israelis, the Zionists. The treasonous perpetrators, acting under these pretense, struck the flag of the American Republic. Well, that's not our flag. Our ensign is even my firstborn, Melchizedek priesthood is back. Was that flag here before they got here? Anything they brought here is not all. Just like the Statue of Liberty was as a man, they said. In drag. Astar, Astra. They are telling you that flag represents Satan worship. That's the sealed portion. Pledging allegiance to Satan. Acting on these pretense, struck the flag of the American Republic and hung it in the Capitol Rotunda and chambers of the Congress, where it continues to hang in the struck position to this day. It's important to know that this corporate skullduggery had nothing to do with the ultimate owners, the people of Israel and the states of this country. American Israelites and the free states. Know what our sovereign government, who is that? The nation of Israel, the greatest nation. American Israelites, not Israelis. Nation. So I don't got to be ashamed when I'm saying that I ain't wrong about it. Or the history of a nation is a noun. People, large group of people with common ancestry, birth, rank, descendants, relatives, country, homeland, birth, origin, breed, stock, kind, species, race of people, tribe. Literally that which has been born. To give birth, beget. The words referring to procreation in familial and tribal groups. A race of people, an aggregation of persons of the same ethnic family, speaking the same language. They have a little quote here. A nation is an organized community within a certain territory, or in other words, there must be a place where its sole sovereignty is exercised. Theodore D. Woolsey, Introduction of Study International Law, 1864. National adjective, of pertaining to a nation or a country regarded as a whole, established and maintained by the nation, peculiar to the whole people of a country, meaning peculiar or common to the whole people of a country. First Peter 29, King James verse. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. The Constitution is for the United States of America, Israelites, for the people and by the people. A peculiar people. They should show forth the praise of him that called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Then he got more specific and amplified. First Peter 2:9 Amplified Bible. but you're a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a consecrated nation, a special people for God's own possession. So they may proclaim the excellencies and wonderful deeds and virtues and affections of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Final stand down PDF of confession. It is important to know that this corporate skullduggery had nothing to do with the ultimate owners of the states and people of this country, the children of Israel, the holy royal race, who they call Negroes, African American, colored, Indian, all these bywords, but actually American Israelites. Know that our sovereign government is a matter of British territorial sticky fingers, misrepresenting the situation and promoting a false claim on abandonment against a fellow federal subcontractor, a federal service provider that was actually owed by the states of the Union, was owed return to the American Israelite people in free states. It employed both subcontractors. Circling back to the creation of the Incorporated Municipal Service Provider in the Organic Acts of 1871, which provided for existence of an independent international city-state operating in the District of Columbia. An enclave like Vatican City, plugged down in what is otherwise Italy, runs a plenary oligarchy, are members of the U.S. Territorial Congress. Noted they were not members of the intended Congress, entrusted with the running the city of Washington, D.C. as a neutral federal capital. The Congress and congressional members entrusted with that duty were the American federal subcontractor operating under the Constitution of the 49ers of America. Who's that? Well, if you're talking about the true Americans, the Israelites, and the Church of Christ is back. Thus, Obadiah 121. That Adam created for that purpose. The remnant of the saved in Mount Zion will go into the mountains of Esau and rule justly and fairly, rule that honors God's kingdom. The Congress and congressional members entrusted with that duty were the American federal subcontractors operating under the Constitution of the 49ers of America. And they're the ones who got to provide service for us. The British Territory of the U.S. Congress, operating under the Constitution of the United States of America, commandeered that trust in office when they gratuitously claimed the assets of the Federal Republic as abandoned property, proclaimed themselves as the successors to the Federal Republic contracts in operations as of February 2nd, 1871. The congressional oligarchy, established to run the federal capital, was supposed to be American, not British territorial. Americans are the Israelites, and none else. A fact that both His Majesty government and the Pope's Holy See are aware of, but which the American Israelite victims of their gross breach of trust are still struggling with. No longer is their confession of what the criminality they did was treason. They obligated by the blood, tongue, and blood of Yahweh. Guarantee. It looks to us like the writer of the final stand down is a British apologist, trying to evade a mission of the culpability of the British territorial U.S. Congress in these matters. But the history and context and timing will not bear this out. They seized upon our American subcontractor, declared themselves the successor to his contracts, and properly abused that position to create a foreign oligarchy for themselves, run a municipal independent international city-state in the middle of our federal capital, forming a new municipal corporation for their convenience, the United States Incorporated. Proceed to fraudulently misrepresent their government for ours. And all this was done under color of law. While this operating as our paid employees, subject to the Constitution of the United States of America, the usurpation, disservice, and criminal self-interest and gross breach of trust is self-evident. The rise of the same document, the final stand order, refers to Australia and Canada as islands, without appearing to know the history and failing to disclose the ridiculous fraud behind that, whereas the continent of Terra Australis could somewhat euphemistically be referred to as the island. Canada cannot, neither can Mexico, so the average reader is left scratching their head. This particular fraud scheme arose out of the insular tariff cases argued before the Territorial Supreme Court in 1900 and 1904, resulting in the establishment of other foreign government manipulations. As the Chief Justice Harlan put it, mischief in this scheme. The territories and possessions termed insular states were used to set up separate foreign government-based offshore, and then use their jurisdictional immunities to promote island piracy. They're not immune. The fraud against the actual national governments. In the case of the United States, the actual island of Puerto Rico and the British Territorial Commonwealth nation of Puerto Rico was used for this crime spree of fraud and misrepresentation. In the case of Terra Australis, the British territorial possession of Norfolk Island was used. We have recent information that China's government was under attack using the same scheme, with the intent of being to use the U.S. territorial Marana Island as a home base for it. These offshore islands, constructed as territories and possessions, were used substantially as a white-collar pirate base to organize, promote, and provide support for British territorial island piracy, and basis for privateering operations authorized by the British Crown under letters of marque, and reprisal. For example, the unlawful conversion of American babies, the dead baby scam, the Act of 1666, Sketchviki Act, was a scam against the Israelites. That's why they owe us all that money and credit. It's already following the record. Now, political status that of British territorial U.S. citizens via undisclosed and for the victims unconscionable citizenship registration. The collection of private bank debts owed by the British territorial U.S. citizens by the British Territorial International Revenue Service was all orchestrated out of Puerto Rico. A similar scheme used Norfolk Island, DBA Australia, to carry on the same con game against the people of Terra Australis, which is the actual name of the country. Please note that the creation of the legal term insular states can also mean states within the jurisdiction of territorial government. This is also how they contrive to create a linguistic fraud scheme misrepresenting their territorial states as states of the Union, and their territorial statehood as if it was equivalent to the actual enrollment of a state of the Union. It's not. But the British territorial governments used this wordplay to create another bait and switch fraud against the interests of the American Israelite people and the free states. The long hiatus in which the actual American Israelite government was not in session, no new states of the Union could be formally enrolled. That's why another man, I was watching his video, they know they can't get away with this no more, so they said they're not enrolling nobody to be enrolled no more under their fake government. Being put like that, but this truth does. The entire process of creating new states of the Union outlined by the Northwest Ordinance could be completed right up to the enrollment of the new state of the Union, which required action by the actual states. So our British territorial subcontractors contrived to create territorial statehood instead, and grant that the people living in the states that began forming during and after the so-called Civil War, now you know you're talking about American Israelites now, who they call African Americans. And again, they basically substituted their form of statehood for ours. Passive offices was the same thing. This is the basis of Mr. Obama's odd lapse in the public, describing himself as the president of the 57 states. In the slip of the lip omission, he's operating as a British territorial president. The writer of the final stand-down document also makes the mistake of claiming that the military came first in terms of establishing our American government. This is a very odd and ignorant claim. It appears to be an attempt to justify military rule in existence of the first in line, first in time military government enabled to serve itself at the expense of the non-military population. It was that City Atlantic Corporation. DC military. Such a thing has never been heard of in the history of the world and is in fact an impossibility. Militaries always arrive from the non-military population of the earth. Could that be why they're anticipating that's why they created a space force? Because they said on Earth we didn't have no military. It should have visited. That's people's main claim to claim. We ain't got no military. We do got a military. That's why Trump said they created a space force. Coming through a cloud near you. So, a portal. Militaries always arrive from a non-military population of the earth. The creator is always greater than the thing created. It follows that. As is traditionally well known, military powers are personal belongings to and are obligated to serve their country, not the other way around. The crux of the matter, we've heard this before, that the Continental Army existed before the unanimous Declaration of Independence, and therefore enjoyed some kind of precedence akin to commercial claim on the country and the people. So let's examine this. The Continental Army was a proceeding by local militias, the well-known Minutemen, who served as volunteers. He said the armies of Eden gonna be scared like women. You mean to tell me the armies of Eden that have been colonized the whole world, what's gonna make them afraid? They used to kill it. Oh, that's why they created a space force. Consider that. So let's examine this. The Continental Army was preceded by the local militias, well-known Minutemen who served as volunteers. The Continental Army and the Navy were then organized and paid for by the Continental Congress. It acted as a national military. The only change was in jurisdiction, and from unpaid to paid, or at least somewhat supplied status. The Minutemen obviously preceded the Continental Army and joined it, supported both with labor and materials, and were the backbone of the entire effort. The early records of the Continental Congress are replete with descriptions of donation and materials supplied by local communities and organizations. And detachments of local militias joined the national level effort. Indeed, apart from certain French and German volunteers, the only source for the existence of Continental Army was the non-military population of this country. There were very few professional soldiers in the ranks of the Continental Army, and those that were imported from overseas. Even General Washington was a farmer, not a professional soldier. Now you're talking about their forefathers, the colonizers, all of the Freemasons. He had gained his entire military experience and tactical education as a British officer during the French and Indian War. Made himself naked again. Who are the Indians? The Negroes, the Israelites. Apart from momentary need, had no avowed intention of following a military career. The Continental Army and Navy were the only military components present. The only military personnel acting in favor of our national government of the American side of the War of Independence. Remember, America is Israel. And America is not the United States Corporation. These American armed forces derived directly from the population of this country, who acted as the personnel, the suppliers, and through their congressional delegates, were the underwriters of the Continental Army and Navy War. So which came first, the chicken or egg? Well, American Israelites came first. Y'all came from colonized and started lying and cheating and colluding by your own confession. The Minutemen preceded the Continental Army and Navy. The Continental Congress preceded the Continental Army and Navy. Everything possessed by the Continental Army and Navy included their personnel, muskets, gunpowder, food, horses, wagons, cannon, uniforms. To the extent that they had uniforms, were all provided by the average people of this country directly through their delegates out in the Continental Congress. What really happened? They said they treated like cattle. That's how they got it. They stole our gold and silver and everything else. It becomes apparent that the claim that the military government preceded the non-military government is a gross misstatement of fact. There was, in fact, no military government apart from the Continental Congress. It was organized the Continental Army and Navy. General Washington made his reports and took his orders, requested the supplies from them, not the other way around. So they're trying to make it like George Washington was honorable. No, them some devils, man. We was already here before they got here. Those are Freemasons, like the book says, World Tartarians. We firmly protest and assert that there was no military government preceding our government. We also confirm, protest, and assert that there is no competent military government now except ours, with the possible exception of the United States Navy. This claim and circumstances arise because of all military functions, since the administration of Abraham Lincoln, have been unlawfully converted to function as mercenary forces instead of military forces. This precludes the existence of any valid military government being represented by the British territorial government or any corporation thereof, with the possible exception noted. The United States Navy may still be functioning as a military force via the attachment of the Royal Navy. However, the recent coronation of King Charles III as his Imperial Majesty indicates that the British swindlers are on the move again, attempting to vacate the international jurisdiction of the sea, the office of the British monarch, from which the authority of the Royal Navy as a military branch derives. When the monarchy is vacated, the Lord High Steward takes command of the land jurisdiction and lords the Admiralty stand for the absence of king, but as Great Britain is a company, not a country. It has been operating under the condition of the seat for 300 plus years. It's doubtful that any crumbs of actual military authority remain. They don't have none. That's why they're doing what they're doing under the skies of DC, the devil's dominion. We ain't got none of that. Only United States citizens. Slaves of Britain. All the British forces we know are privatized and are staffed and paid for as corporations, by corporations, have no legal legitimate standing as a national military force at all. It all seems doubtful that the Royal Navy dodged this bullet, has remained unincorporated and under the control of the Lords of the Admiralty at this time. They're not over Israel and Zion because there's no more sea. That means everyone's type of law. That means color of law. That also means who's it said? New breed always for martial law coming, not for us. In Israel, not Zion. There's revelation, and all things are made new, and there's no more sea. As the standing of the United States Navy would depend on the standing of the Royal Navy. Remember, this had been written not now, it's confessed. At that time, said, what's his name? Barack was his son-in-law. But it's all on the record. All this argument itself is in favor of the Israelites. This is a confession on the record, recorded. Our message of the word of God, which is the truth. As the standing of the United States Navy would depend on the standing of the Royal Navy, it may be as comprised and as regulated to standing as a private mercenary force as all the rest. And they cannot be royal. Only a deeper dive and access to records of England Company will serve to answer this. As we not presently have that access, we cannot officially confirm or deny the nature of standing of the Royal Navy by the United States Navy at this time. The last obvious large misunderstanding of this idea that is the 1776 Constitution exists and can substitute for other later constitutions. All constitutions are debt agreements. All. That's what a constitution is. One party performs a service or provides a commodity or both. Who they debt? Who they owe debt to? Me, children of Israel. Constitution for the United States of America, Israelites, in debt to us by obligation, by necessity. Another party agrees to pay a stipulated form or a stipulated debt by a stipulated date. This is equivalent to a bill of lading, the service or goods, a bill of exchange, the payment under contract in the international jurisdiction, where we sovereign once again by their own confession. No longer POWs, but sovereign in the international jurisdiction of the sea, now around venues and jurisdiction of the law. Constitutions by their nature are unique and relatively non-transferable. All parties have to agree to assign under a constitution. So when the Continental Congress entered into a constitution with the King of France in 1776, the contract for service for the French government settled debt for those services. When those debts and services agreed were paid and sunsettled 10 years later in 1786, that constitution ceased to be in effect. New constitutional agreements were put in place with 3 new federal subcontractors, 1787, 1789, and 1790. It is clear from the foregoing that any reference to any constitution of 1776, as if it could form the basis of any action in the present day, is another gross misunderstanding. Another gross misunderstanding associated with the constitutions our federal government has operated under is associated with the so-called national debt. While the rest of us were fighting against the British in the War of Independence, the Tories, that is, the British territorials, who supported the King's government, were fighting for the King and against the Americans, the true Americans, the Israelites. If you're not an American Israelite, you're a United States citizen. Or you a Briton, a Briton, or whatever nation you come from, European, etc. African, wherever you come from. The British territorial government ran up a huge debt born from the King's government so they could fight for him and his interests in North America. After the war ended and thus settled, the British territorial government owed the King a lot of money for the money he loaned them so they could fight for him. This is the foundational basis of the British territorial national debt. They have made payments on this national debt ever since. They kept a running tab with the King's government ever since. This is a debt that they have spanned by raising the debt ceiling that they fear defaulting upon. It has nothing to do with the American Israelite people in the free states. Shortly after we paid off our constitutional debt to the King of France, who is we? They. We never had no debt. It's Israelites. That's why they fight each other. The same British territorial government was given the Constitution of the United States of America as a service contract. They engaged to work for us under the term of contract, and our states agreed to pay them for the service. They've been bilking and misrepresenting us as British territorial U.S. citizens and getting us to pay their debt since the so-called Civil War. We, the actual American Israelite government, has seldom been in debt and has always promptly repaid anything we borrowed. We never had to borrow nothing. So we never owed nothing. You stole everything we had. That's between you and your other Europeans. That's what Trump said. They on 9/2/25, they made a new agreement with the European nations. That's who award each other. When another ugly British incursion, that's what Most High said this. Obadiah chapter 1. I'm going to read Berean Standard Bible, 6 through 8. And how Esau will be pillaged, his hidden treasure sought out. All the men allied with you will drive you to the border. The men at peace with you, you said there's peace in DC. The men at peace with you shall deceive and overpower you. Those who eat your bread will set a trap for you without your awareness of it. In that day, declares Yahweh, I will not destroy, it's like I will not destroy the wise men of Edom and the men of understanding. Said, will I not? He said, I will destroy the wise men of Edom, the men of understanding, and the nation of Esau. Those same European nations, that's what they're going to turn into. Setting a trap for you. So when another ugly British incursion, the War of 1812, required us to borrow our money again. Talking about them, we never had to borrow them. These talking about them Europeans. We repaid it on time. We were debt free in 1840 when Queen Victoria began her reign in England. That's the collusion. That's also the deception. They already told you America is not the United States. The United States is not America, but they throw that term American in there. And they already know the children of Israel, they're Americans, Israelites. And they're not, so they use the word America, so you don't know who they're talking about. So our American government has not had cause to borrow any money internationally ever since. That's really the American Israelites. So we didn't have to owe nobody no money. You came to what we had and stole. So that's why you gotta give it back by necessity. With interest. This can readily be deduced if acquired no new national debt of our own due to the zero-sum nature of the debt credit exchange system. Instead, we're owed the application of our national credit, return of all credit we paid out of as interest on the British territorial national debt, along with the great sums of additional American credit, and all the American Israelite assets that have been illegally and unlawfully and morally seized upon, based on the fraud schemes, omissions, and non-disclosure employed against us by the British territorial subcontractors and the British Crown. The enfranchisement scheme purchased by her government as a means to latch onto private property and labor assets of the British working class has been described as lent elsewhere. The same scheme was spread to the British territorial United States and applied to U.S. citizens. From there, it spread to our shores and practiced against us by the undeclared British agents via undisclosed registrations on American babies as U.S. citizens under the Separate Powers Act. The dead baby scam, Census Act of 1666. That's why we get to redress, the reparation for the injuries as well. It's all on the record. All this crime and skullduggery was accomplished under the condition of deceit and color of law by federal subcontractors, owing us good faith and service. In actual fact, no American Israelite owes any debt. Quite the opposite. The balance of the book show an unsurmountable debt owed to us, not only by Great Britain, by the British territorial government, and the very substantial debts owed to us by numerous other governments. What's that? Isaiah chapter 65 to 14, the boys read. And when you see it, your face will glow. Your heart will race and be filled with joy. Great ships will arrive with gifts from across the sea. The wealth of nations and will make their way to you. Herd of the herd of camels brings trucks, security trucks, whatever trucks, mail trucks, will cover the land. Caravans arrive in Delhi from south and southwest, Midian, Ephah, even Sheba, gifts of gold and frankincense. They'll announce for all the world to hear, the Eternal will be praised. Kedar's flock will be gathered for you. Moab's rams will be available for a sacrifice. Eternal. When they offer on my altar, I will accept it. I make my glorious house even more glorious. Who are these sailing to our ports like clouds through the sky, like doves winging their way home to their windowsill? Breezy coastlands will wait expectantly for me. The ships of Tarshish arrive first, bringing your children back from distant lands, carrying in their holds the silver and gold, to honor the name of the Eternal, your God, the Holy One of Israel, Yahweh, who has made you beautiful. People will come from different countries and different cultures to rebuild Jerusalem, Article 1, Section 10, America, North America, walls and make her strong again. Their kings will help you however they need, however you need, and wherever we want. Dr. Cover Law. Eternal One, I punish you because I was furious with you. Reduce you to little on account of your persistent wrongdoing. But I'll restore you, reclaim you, and rebuild you because I cannot help but love you. Now your gates will stay open to a constant stream of gifts. All day and night, they'll not be shut, as the wealth of nations will be brought to you. The kings leading the procession. Any nation that abstain, any people who decline from serving you will simply disappear. They'll be destroyed. Eternal. Meanwhile, the most beautiful materials will arrive from Lebanon. Cypress, box, and pine will build and decorate the place where I promised to be. My house where I will rest in glory among you. All the children of those who had bullied you, attacked and abused you, all who hated you will come crawling on their knees and bowing at your feet. Revelation 29, 3 and 9, Geneva Bible. They'll address you as the city of God, the place of the eternal, the home of Zion, sweet heaven on earth. Article 1, Section 10, New Jerusalem. All this crime and scudery was accounted under the conditions of seat and color of law by federal subcontractors on as good faith in service. In actual fact, no American Israelite owes any debt. Quite the opposite. The balance of the book shows an unsurmountable debt owed to us not only by Great Britain, but the British territorial governments, and very substantial debts owed to us by numerous other governments. Although Mr. Trump and his administration may be employed to collect for us, the role for these particular miscreant federal subcontractors needs to be negotiated and not assumed, already done. It's on the record. That's why the seal portions are good. They confess Trump got all the gold that they stole. That's why I'm needed on the record. When I contacted Trump, Eugene was over the treasury, Francis, and all the rest of them. They sent back a note to certified mail saying, Negus, Anthony Metropooler Sr., also known as Negus Joseph, but through public proclamation and through certified mail. We certify you as Negus, which lets you know I'm over the treasury. There's more than one blessing in the city for us. That's scripture. So the civil portion said this. It all fits. And I ain't lying. I'm reading the precepts. Once again. Seal portion, chapter 90 and 41, and all food and raiment and houses shall become free to all in Zion, children of Israel, and repent. So 90 and 50, therefore, my brothers and sisters, call upon the rich, in fact, no American Israelites owed any debt. Quite the opposite. The balance of the book show an instrumental debt owed to us not only by Great Britain, but the British Territorial Government Corporation, City London Corporation, in DC, etc. And very substantial debts owed to us by numerous other governments. Although Mr. Trump and his administration may be employed to collect for us, therefore call on Mr. Trump and his administration. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, call on Mr. Trump and his administration, already undone it. And the governments that have power over you, that means had they collected that they got to pay us. Although Mr. Trump and his administration may be employed to collect for us, and demand them in righteousness. What I'm reading to you, the truth, the word of God, now on confession. And who did I give it to? Me. And I'm supposed to issue it out to you. It's all on the record. They know what to do. And demand them in righteousness that they provide for you the necessities, by necessity, that you require to stay your life with what you want and what you need. The law of consecration. Doctrine of the Law. Chapter 104, 6 through 17, and chapter 59. To whatever pleases the heart and the ears of. And that's more than enough for my son. That's guaranteed, non-debatable. Me and you in Zion. Now, although Mr. Trump's administration may be employed to collect for us, the role for these particular miscreant federal subcontractors needs to be negotiated, not assumed. It's already negotiated. It's already settled. We had the foxes guarding our hen houses for far too long. Not accepting a continuance of this situation. Those are the agents, those are the principal. Those are the principal, those are the agent. I'm not a mover. I don't have to play those games. I'm an American Israelite. From the royals of King David, royals of Joseph, tribe of Ephraim, Melchizedek priest. Isaiah 9:67, ordinate from the throne of David, my birthright. Here's another document of confession. For Rudy, Sidney, and Lynn, by Anna Rich, City London Corporation Proud Attorney. Trump's Dream Team. Those rare things known as honest lawyers are just beginning to understand what life has been like for the rest of us for 16 decades. As Russell Means said, welcome to the reservation. They are experiencing the evil side of the Bar Association. Like General Flynn, they are noticing that there are double standards and multiple forms of law. Things they just plain never teach you in law school. Well, there's only one law, but the other stuff they got is the color law, and legislation mandates not law, under their code system. But now it's working against them by their own confession. A long time ago, They taught this stuff at Harvard and Yale. Princeton and William and Mary, but no, not anymore. Not since the 1960s. Sadly, none of them are listening to me. They're so busy being anxious and disoriented and trying to make sense of things using all their familiar tools and knowledge. But the familiar tools and knowledge won't work in the foreign environment they are facing now. If they don't listen to me or someone like me, the former bar attorneys loyal to Trump will be helpless, driven out of the ranks, punished, ostracized, and left hanging on by a dry and unable to practice their profession, facing the worst thing that can happen to a bar attorney. Ironically enough, dishonor. Well, they started out dishonor. This is their confession. They already told you all these people are guilty. The scripture still portion told you too. God, judgment. Dishonor and disparagement of the weird world of the Bar Association can mean that you are an incompetent skunk. But also to often mean that you are an honorable man or woman who stopped betraying the best interest of their pain, trusting customers, and couldn't stomach selling the innocent out to the keen purported interest anymore. Trump will be forced to rely on the other bar attorneys, who, as well as we all know, are loyal to the court, not their customers. They will sell him out, administer his estate. He never reached the ballot box in 2024. Short of a miracle, they will drain his resources and terrify him and his family, and beat him down in a terrible, slow, grinding process of endless summons and warrants, and hearings and pre-hearings, and arraignments and discovery. On and on and on, and bloody on. Everyone is exhausted, outraged, and but helpless. These men and women, esquires of the king, will do this to Trump and the few honest lawyers who rally to his side using public money to do it, whereas his defense will have to be funded privately. They operate like a pack of foxhounds, banging to the chase, buttering up their cronies in the fake journalism industry. What's this mean? My words come down on Dunya, the people of God's courage, as the papists go. They'll be worse than an old gossip convention. They will mischaracterize and misaddress Trump as Donald J. Trump, as a municipal corporation considered a citizen of the United States under the diversity clause of Federal Title 28. And that mischaracterization right there, together with the mistake he has already made giving them jurisdiction, will sink him. Donald Trump, the United States born, I'm correcting according to truth, because he's not American. I read you, he's a Ashkenazi, the race of demons, quoted from that book. Donald Trump, the United States born in New York many years ago, is owed all the protection of the Constitution of the United States, but Donald J. Trump has no rights or protections. Donald J. Trump is the 14th Amendment citizen, a slave owned by the District of Columbia Municipal Corporation, and that is the entity that is on trial. That entity is already prejudged under the 14th Amendment and is guilty until proven innocent. They are guilty. Anybody else confess? All the Trump enemies have to do is trump up some charge, real or imagined, and put on a show, trial providing the appearance of justice and due process, and then lock him up and fine him however much they please. This is Anna Von Ritz, the City of London Private Attorney's confession. Fairness, truth, or honor have nothing to do with it. Justice has even less. It's been this way and getting worse since 1960. The bar attorneys working for the municipal courts are moonlighting and working as privateers for the enemy in violation of the British law. Craig versus Moe for Peters reports 9/12, selling under the license of an enemy is illegal. The municipal government is still considered their enemy ever since the Civil War. But they're not in Britain and nobody charges them under international law. So they get away with it. One effective means to dealing with the whole lot of them would be to lodge a complaint with the British ambassador in the United States Secretary of State in office of the General Counsel, accusing the prosecutors of crimes of personage and mail fraud and profiteering under cover of law, aiding and abetting human traffickers, conspiracy, and treason. That would be enough to get the JAG, capital JAG officers at Quantico up and spitting tax. Get the foxhounds, bring on the Dobermans. Among the other nasty, undisclosed things that Donald John Trump has been accused of is the idea that he is voluntarily acting as an authorized representative of Donald J. Trump, which waives his right to any defense. The poor man Trump doesn't know it. He is totally naked. Still on the track, staring at an oncoming freight train. There isn't going to be any trial. There's going to be an appearance of a trial. It's a very different thing, more in nature of a theater production. Now, if Trump would take a blank check, any blank check from any commercial bank account established in his name, and if he takes a high power magnifying glass and looks at the signature line in the bottom right hand corner of the check, he'll see that it is not a line at all. It is instead a line of microprint endlessly repeating authorized representative over and over again. So small as to be indiscernible by the naked eye. This is evidence that he, Donald John Trump, has not only been misaddressed as a municipal corporation without any disclosure to them, but has been categorized as a voluntary authorized representative of this municipal corporation every time he writes a check. An office, an obligation he never knew anything about and never agreed to. I know how these devils work. That's why I told him all my rights reserved. I already told you, I read before, checks, money, and everything is real money in my hand. The children of Israel, the American Israelites. We talking about you devils. That's what they confess about you in trouble. This is your tribulation is coming. Lamentations 4:21-2, the voice version. Utter your words of joy, Edom. Happy is the land of Uz. Go ahead, be happy. It's time, a cup of suffering will be yours too. You drink so deeply, so perishly, as to be intoxicated and stripped naked. Viciously, daughter of Zion, your iniquity has been punished. That is done. Your exile is over. Daughter of Edom, on the other hand, is a different story. You've been called to account for your sins and uncovered accordingly. This day on confessions, on the record. It's evident that he, Donald Trump, has not only been misaddressed as a municipal corporation without any disclosure to him, but has been mischaracterized as a voluntary authorized representative. That's what Most High gave the scriptures, because these devils try to use that against us. You cannot do it. That's why I said in Isaiah chapter 54, and nothing that's been forged against you shall prosper. It won't succeed. Nothing against us can stand in court. This is reversed back on you. I'm reading the confessions to you. In this municipal corporation, every time he writes a check, an office or obligation he never knew anything about, never agreed to. He just now became aware of this and sharing with the judge. He can tell the court and the members of the United States Bar Association that their members have not only misaddressed him, committed perjury against him, but attempted to commit bribery too, by knowingly bringing false charges against him in the name of unknown foreign person, attempting via unconscionable contracting practice to misrepresent him as a voluntary authorized representative of this person. Then place the check in evidence of non-disclosure of their fraud. See, that's why he's tearing their system down. But God's doing it for our good cause. The judge can see for himself that the verbiage underlying the signature line identifying the victim as authorized representative is too small for the naked eye to see. It is in fact disguised as a simple signature line. And so, it is an undisclosed and self-interest claim being made by the bank and prosecutor. Bad dogs, definitely bad dogs. Next, Trump can ask the court clerk, see the bid bond filed by the prosecutor. If the clerk plays dumb, as they probably are, he can ask the prosecutor directly to see a copy of his bid bond. This puts the prosecutor in a bond because 99.9% of these cases are filed without a bid bond. And the prosecutors think this is smart because not filing a bid bond evades liability for their actions. However, if someone calls the prosecutor on it, he hasn't filed a bid bond, there is no case. The whole thing has to be thrown out with prejudice. The prosecutor gets stuck paying a very hefty fee out of his own pocket to the courts for the court's inconvenience and annoyance. If, however, the prosecutor can produce a bid bond, this is the time for Trump to take note of how much the bid bond is for, and then declare his own claim of injury against Donald J. Trump. You see what he's forced to do, what they was already doing to the children of Israel. They called Negroes, African Americans, blacks, and colors, and Indians, etc. Most High said they make themselves naked. Also said that none can stand against us in court. He raises his right hand and says, to the best of my knowledge and belief, before this court, under the penalty of perjury, I freely declare this private testimony to stand in lieu of an affidavit by the public officer, declare that I have been misaddressed as a foreign and incorporated person, via abuse by trademark and copyrights, that I've been injured and falsely subjected and accused by officers of this municipal court in violation of Federal District Code Title 18, Section 241 and 242. Deprivation of rights under color law. I declare damage in the amount of 3 times the bid bond 10 times. So it's court fee. Don't that sound for me? Oh, that happened to me then. That's why I must get paid. It's guaranteed. And I got the black and blood of Yahweh that Donald Trump don't got. Mine is guaranteed. Children of Israel is guaranteed. They want repentance. I declare damage in the amount of 3 times the bid bond 10 times 10. Plus court fees and costs against the defendant, in this case, the admissible person impersonating me as Donald J. Trump. Ouch. To the unpracticed eye, it looks like he is bringing a civil case for damages against the defendant in a criminal case, but no, under Federal District Code, all crimes are commercial in nature. So criminal charges against the admissible person in the District of Columbia are commercial matters tried under maritime law. That is, when dealing with these admissible corporations as defendants in the District of Columbia. A civil action is the same as criminal action, and a criminal case can be joined. In maritime law, it's about contracts, and there's no contract in evidence. Trump has already rebutted the idea that he is voluntarily appearing as an authorized representative for the defendant. So now he wheels on the prosecutor and says, so bring forth the contract obligating me to answer this court. And there isn't one. Well, Mr. Prosecutor, can you provide the existence of this document? No, he can't. If he did, he'd be admitted to felony level of human trafficking and capital level of lawful conversion. Well, they already confessed they're guilty. Most cases, if a man is found in the hands of his kidnapper or the one who stole him, that's death, and y'all been found guilty. That's also, we got the scriptures to prove it. And by your own confession, you're guilty posthumously to this very day. Your Honor, it's apparent that these gentlemen are misaddressing me as someone, or rather as something that I'm not. That's why I tell you all the time, I'm an American Israelite, man. I'm not no damn incorporated citizen of the United States or city of London Corporation. That's on all my documents, on the record. In doing so, I work in fraud upon the court. I require a remedy and cure from the bounty. Remember, the admissible person is already convicted with a bounty on his head, which any third party may collect from the prosecutor. It's also apparent that these men are operating as licensed privateers for a foreign court, when their licenses are nullified in 2013. There is not but the living God, there you go, standing between them. And he already says you're guilty. You did too by necessity. Surely their offense is both capital, that is, violates the law of kinds. It violates my free will, and now therefore I wish for their utter contrition. Ouch, 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 ouch. Payback, as they say. Well, the Father said this about payback for us, against you. See what I've done for you, as the Father said. Isaiah 14, 1-2, the Message version. Now you're nothing. Now so was Jacob. God would have compassion on Jacob. Once again, he'll choose Israel. Outsiders will be attracted to throwing their lots with Jacob. Nations of whom they live will actually escort them back home. And Israel will pay them back. Israelites will pay them back. Making slaves of them. Men and women alike. Possess them as slaves in God's country. Capturing those who captured them. Ruler of those who had abused them. That's scripture. That's authority. This is your confession. Ouch, 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 ouch. Payback, as they say it. Well, you all know what they say about payback, or I say in our little theological Trump just flew right over their heads. Just flew right over their heads into their air jurisdiction. That loose a pigeon blast of major proportion in the municipal court in front of a magistrate who now has to perform and produce their contrition, or lose everything, most likely including his soul. Trump can also bring his authenticated New York sworn witness statement conforming to the district court practical rule 220, saying that the witness is familiar with the facts and evidence on the face of the birth certificate and does affirm under oath that John Trump, presented this information, is one of the owners, which he has already rebutted any notion that he is consensually operating as an authorized representative of Donald J. Trump. Leaves Donald J. Trump standing as a long lost donor, landlord, owner of Oldest estate, not the defendant. Whose Oldest estate though? Children of Israel. This is all the confessions though. My estate, an estate. Ezekiel 36:11. Now I will multiply you men and beasts. They shall increase and bring fruit. I set it your old estates. I do better than you at the beginnings. You should know that I'm Yahweh. Joel 2:27, the voice version. Return to me, and you will know that I live among my people Israel. That I, the Eternal One, am your God. There is no other. Live again with my people, be ashamed among the nations. Donald Trump, standing as the long lost donor landlord, owed his estate and not the defendant. Well, Donald Trump is not an Israelite, but it's a confession. Everything that's been done against Donald Trump, they did against the children of Israel. The Israelites, what they call Negroes, Indians, niggers, all these bywords, African Americans, who are true American Israelites and Israelites throughout the diaspora. Donald Trump needs a retired and fed up British barrister to come to his aid. Someone thoroughly familiar with the person's crimes and British maritime law. He needs to see Archbishop Vigano and find a Roman proconsul to advise him and make very, very short work of the DOJ, the fledgling Nazis of New York. Rudy, Sidney, and Lynn, the 12 dozen more just like them, can't help Trump. All they can do is hurt themselves. As it takes 2 or 3 years to retain a bar attorney to practice law, he must look elsewhere for help. Still, in the meanwhile, it must be some comfort to Trump to know he has one such loyal friend. You can't help but admire him. District of Quantico, here we go again. Another confession. Remember, all this is already settled. This is a confession in favor of the Israelites. I've explained on numerous occasions to Americans, the Israelites, and people throughout the world that the District of Columbia was carved out of 2 of our State of the Union, Virginia and Maryland, serve as a separate and distinct base for operations for our 3 federal subcontractors, 1 American Federal Republic, 1 British Territorial Democracy, and 1 Misterocracy, which were to do their organizational business within the district and use the District of Columbia as their administrative headquarters. This is the way it was to set up, and the way it was to run for decades, and then with the Civil War, the American Federal Republic fell dormant and silent. Because the original American Confederation of States that operated the Federal Republic was never reconstructed. There was really nothing to stop the state from contemplating the reconstruction of both Confederation and the Federal Republic, except they were not told what was going on. And those men who could have solved the riddle were systematically murdered, unjustly branded as outlaws, burned out of their homes, robbed, and forced to flee by undeclared British agents. That sounds familiar though. The District of Columbia was established to house the federal subcontractors. If you examine the paperwork associated with this, you'll find that the district exists under use of permit. So long as it is used for the purpose agreed upon, it is allowed to remain. No, but the Most High said it's been burnt down. It was split into three. I'll read it again for us. I read it already on the record. Split into three divisions, judged by God, and not in a good way. Babylon the Great is fallen, it's not getting up. A similar agreement attaches to the municipality of Washington, D.C. Land and soil was never seceded by the Maryland or Virginia legislature, either one. Efforts were made by the state of Virginia legislature to annex the land and soil back to the Virginia in an acrimonious wrangle by the misuse and abuse of the use permit. However, the state of Virginia and the legislature had no clear standing to make this move. The use of permit was granted by the state, Virginia, not a state of state business organization. The state of Virginia established that the use permit was indeed being violated because they were not party to the contract. They cannot actually enforce it. The municipality of Washington, D.C. was similarly set aside as an enclave within a district meant to serve as a sacred ground where business could be conducted on a safe, even playing field. The members of the American Federal Republic Congress were supposed to serve the plenary government of the municipality. With the American subcontractors out of the way, the Brits took over the District of Columbia for its operation. The Holy See took over the municipality. That's what another I said, there's no more sea. Revelation 21 and 1. All things have been made new. A new heaven and a new earth. Now, out of nowhere, we hear that the U.S. British territorial citizens are setting up shop in what they call the District of Quantico, Virginia. This is apparently based on the fact that the land and soil underlying the Quantico base was set aside as a federal enclave and has specific use. However, the organizers of this go a bit beyond any grant made by the underlying state and claims that this district is the seat of national government. Apparently, the British territorial national government and its citizenry, the U.S. citizens, have been kicked out of the District of Columbia, are seeking to establish a new base of operations. This does not mean that our states have agreed to this change of use, nor does it apply the existence of a separate national government involved in the general public of this country. The British territory of the United States has always been a separate foreign national government. It's not a government, it's a corporation. And the U.S. citizenry attached to it have always been acting as a foreign international capacity. As we explained before, many nations may inhabit or live in the same state of the union at the same time. The U.S. citizens make up such nation. The U.S. citizens make up one such nation. And if they need to establish a new seat of government for themselves, they can do so. Who is they talking about right there? The children of Israel, as we are established our own government again. Called Melchizedek priesthood. Zion, Mawin. And we not United States, we sovereign. The rest of you can't be nothing but a U.S. citizen because you're not American. And you're not Israelites. So long as the states has actually granted the land and soil under Quantico and dedicated it for their use, other Quantico could not serve as a seat of government for them. The actual state assemblies of Maryland and Virginia, the grantors and donors issued the original use permit, stand ready to accept back the District of Columbia and claim it as property abandoned by the subcontractor. This is their confessions. But the great city of Babylon is done for. They cannot stand. Revelation 16:19, easy read version. The great city split into three parts. The city of the nations were destroyed. And God did not forget to punish Babylon the Great. He gave the city the cup filled with the wine of his terrible anger. Revelation 16:19 in English, easy English Bible. As a result, the great city Babylon broke into three parts. When the ground shook, it also destroyed the big cities of other nations in the world. Why? They all attached. As he says that the Antichrist, those who worship the beast, union of Satan. God did not forget the evil things that the people of the great city of Babylon has done. So they had to drink the wine from the cup of God's great anger. See portion 86, 9 through 10. And again, verily I say unto you, on heaven the earth, I Yahweh am willing to make these things known to all flesh. I'm no respecter of person. I would that all men should know that the day speedily cometh, but he does respect Israel. That means the judgment is fair. That's why you must die. You must be murdered. Exodus 2:25, and God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. The elect. Now would all men should know that the day speedily cometh, that the hour is here now. It's at hand. When peace be taken off the earth among the wicked. And the devil shall have power of his own to me. And also Yahweh shall have power over his saints, and shall reign in their midst. Shall come down in judgment of Adunia, of the world. Isaiah 34, 3-5, the voice version. Their blood will run like rivers down the mountains. Their corpse tossed out, heaped up, and randomly piled in a great stinking mound. All the stars in the once vibrant heavens will vanish. And the sky will be rolled up like a scroll. All the starry hosts will wither and fall, like grapes leaves, crisp by fall, or fig leaves a shriveled winter. Turn on. Once my sword had its fill in the heavens, I set it again against Edom, those people who despise my own. I marked Edom for judgment and destruction. That's Psalm 83. Isaiah 34, 3-5, Geneva Bible. Their slain shall be cast out. Their stink shall come up out of their bodies. And the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. The heaven shall be folded like a book. And all their hosts shall fall as the leaf falleth from the vine, as it falleth from the fig tree. My sword shall be drunken in heaven. For no doubt determined my secret counsel. And heaven to destroy them, to my sword be weary with shedding of blood. Behold, it shall come down on Edom, even on the people of my curse to judge. Footnote, they had an opinion of holiness. They came to the patriarch Isaac. In effect, were cursed of God, and he was of his church, Sion, my wing, as the Papa's law. All praises to a nobody said who's the Heavenly Father, who's loving kindness to us, his elect children, in Sinai. Article 1, Section 10. Eden, America, Turtle Island, North America, headquarters. I came in the name of the truth. His name is Yahweh, who's also called the Word of God, who's also the Spirit of prophecy. But what's prophecy that I prophesy by, called the Word.